Saturday showdown. KT Rolster versus BNK Red.
To start off so well, have a catastrophic failure, and just finish somewhere in the middle.
I may cry, but I won't laugh either.
Yeah. Let's get into the draft. Let's see whether KT has pulled it together, as D+ do have first pick this time around, as they had right of first selection.
CV Max jumping.
Yeah, honestly, they were all giggling. And a D+ that are happy and raring to go is honestly a relatively rare sight. And Lucid obviously just not the kind of guy to smile very naturally. But the other example of the other players certainly were looking like they were in pretty high spirits. And so already we do have the Lucian, the Nocturne, the Varus, and the Rumble banned away.
Lucian should be in this first ban priority for most teams. I think it's actually where he belongs right now. He is just so incredibly strong. We have so many good AD carries that are Lucian experts here in the LCK. And Smash is one of the newer ones, but he definitely is on the list, as Karma will also be taken away. So a lot of bot lane protection here for KT, as we do have Orianna available.
Yeah, Orianna and Bard, both of them are up and available right now.
Ashe Seraphine also a possibility, but they banned the Nautilus here with first pick, and they can't get both picks right now. So I think the Orianna is probably going to be the go, even though they banned the Nocturne away.
Yeah, I would agree.
Might be taken in response because Jarvan works really well with Orianna, but you can go Orianna Ezreal if you are D+ Kia, which is what I think we're probably going to end up seeing.
Yeah, Orianna Xin Zhao is also just fine. Command Protect really helps his durability, not to mention a few extra stats from just holding the ball. And will be a pretty decent Shockwave target. Ashe Seraphine looking like it's going to be on the cards here for KT, but they will lock in the Jarvan first. And now, where is D+ going to go to round out their lineup? They could take the Seraphine away if they would like to, but we haven't seen a lot of success with Seraphine denial here in the LCK, and I'm not a huge fan of it.
They banned the Nautilus away, so it's a little tricky. They might have to play a Pyke lane later on in the second phase if that's where the bans go, or they could go for an Ezreal lane right now with Xin Zhao and just go Xin, Ezreal, and you could play Ezreal Leona if it's not banned away.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a fun time,
would also be kind of okay.
Yeah, Xin Bard actually opens things up a lot. You lose the Ezreal, but a lot of other picks can actually go toe-to-toe if you do have that Bard in the lane. That's a really good point, as...
Because you'll have to get through another ban phase, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that there are 3 things that can work.
You'll lose the Bard for sure if you don't lock it in here.
And when you can see that it's Ashe Seraphine kind of face up, we've seen Bard lanes actually do relatively well into it. As recently as yesterday, that was Bard Caitlyn that time. But without Caitlyn, you could play Bard Ezreal and it'd be kind of all right. You could play Bard Jhin and it'd probably be all right.
I'm glad they didn't go Nico, because I think that would have been the worst of the ranged options they could have gone for. And let's see what we get ban-wise here, because the Caitlyn, I think, is the #1. Ezreal, very high on the list here, but they also might want to protect Perfect and set him up for a matchup that he wants on the top side and say, you know, there's a lot of AD carries you can play with the Bard. We're still just going to stick with our Ashe Seraphine and feel like that's going to win against almost anything. But I think the Caitlyn kind of has to go at this point. Smash is a great Caitlyn player. We've all seen it. We've seen it in Challengers. We've seen it now here in the LCK enough times to know that it's one of his best.
I mean, his Jhin is also pretty fantastic. Maybe it's just Caitlyn Jhin. Just get rid of them and then risk the Ezreal lock-in. But instead, Ezreal will be taken away.
It's a really,
like on this patch, it's just really strong.
It's a really tough position for KT because they already have such a strong bottom lane to choose the right bans here. And I think it's going to come down a little bit to preference, but something is going to slip through the cracks, right? We discussed a lot of potential bans. On the side of D+ Kia here,
do you protect the Orianna, or do you make sure the top lane matchup is better?
I think protecting the Orianna is stronger because it's already a known quantity, whereas the top lane is a little bit more ambiguous right now, and there's so many ranged champions. Even Tristana's coming back. Like, Teemo might actually be viable.
And it was Shu that played the Tristana top, right?
Yes, it was. So I think this is the right call. The Caitlyn goes away, and ultimately you might see
Akali ban?
It could be a Mel or a Ryze ban here. Akali also kind of makes sense.
Just has been banned a lot in the second round here in the LCK. But they're taking their time. You could also just switch over to top laners, right? Like ban a Jace or something like that.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
But
ban Gwen, so I think that makes it pretty clear what they are interested in playing here.
Any Sion enjoyers?
Yeah. As I did not expect to see Sylas. Victor, definitely a big benefactor of the new Deathfire touch.
Yes, indeed.
Rune, so I think that's why he's being considered by a lot of mid laners right now, as it will be the Rise, which BD has really enjoyed playing on this patch, but has not won any games of so far.
Yeah, I just don't think it's very good. Smash cycling through some options here, though. Jhin and Misfortune are probably the two best ones.
I don't hate the Misfortune, but I think Jhin is a little bit more strong with the Scion. I think that they're inevitably going to lock as their final pick here.
I don't like it as much just because I feel like the lack of consistent damage might come back to bite them if it is going to be a Scion top lane. You could just take a, like, with a Jace up there, it might feel a bit better, but blind Jace feels a bit scary into Perfect. Not sure what Shu does want to do here.
I mean, they could pivot completely and go for something a little bit more side lane focused, and that's also still strong like a Yorick, but it's blind, right? So the Scion is the safest pick here. They protected it with the Gwen ban. Is neither the Jhin or the Misfortune do great consistent damage anyways. The Misfortune does more and also does a lot of burst, but the Jhin is great if you have setup, which they do.
Also better in the lane. Perfect. I feel like Jhin bot is just very, very scary.
I actually really like the Zahin angle here, even though it's a little bit, like it's a little bit all in, right? And your early game is going to be a little bit weaker. We know the jungle attention is going to be bottom side, and it's one of the matchups where it's difficult to be punished with the Zahin when you know the Scion is there. A lot of people like to punish the Scion with a pick that hard wins lane where you generate advantages, but that's meant very little, again, in a bottom-centric meta where you're not really sending anybody topside. Generating a small lead in the lane against Scion has been pretty useless because he just becomes so hard to kill later on, even if he's like 0 and 2.
He's also really good in the early levels anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just base damages are just kind of insane.
So, like, going Zahin here is basically saying, you can't punish my Zahin's weak early game, and I'm going to be a larger threat later on and get on top of the Jhin, can try to fight through the Orianna. Very difficult for the Orianna to zone the Zahin away. And there's so many different threats here, and so much frontline for the Encore extension for KT. I do like KT's draft a lot better. I think as long as the bottom lane doesn't have any errors, any disasters down there, I think KT kind of just naturally become large, scale really well. Actualizer comes out for the Rise, and it's a fairly easy comp to play. I don't know what Rune BDD is going to go, but I think it's probably going to be Deathfire Touch. It has not worked out for Rise players so far, though, on this patch.
Yeah, we saw it in both series yesterday, and in our first one, it was against Cassiopeia, who actually did use Deathfire Touch, and it worked well. Maybe BDD has a different idea. Let's get into the Rift for game number 1. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1. KT versus D+ Kia. And KT just wanted to get back on the horse, right? They just lost to B&K Fearex. Before that, they lost to Bro 2-0. It was a demolition. And prior to that, the thing that started it all off was HLE just bopping them. And so KT really do need to try and figure things out.
I think there's a lot of extra factors to KT's losses, right? Like, they lost to OnLife Esports, which there's no shame in that. Basically, everybody's lost to them.
Yes.
Actually, they have, because T1 lost them the second time around. And, you know, B&K got their new AD carry. There's a lot of hype around that right now. He's actually playing individually incredibly well, Taeyun is.
He is.
And Bro are actually pretty good. Even though they're not great in the standings, I think they're a really strong team. And if you have just even a slight off day, you could lose to them. It's the way that KT lost, though, in those games that makes you a little bit worried. They just were not on the same page. They were making uncharacteristic mistakes in terms of judgment on team fights and target selection. And Perfect's form, we talked about it, like, you know, in the past, we're like, okay, 10% of the time he's best top laner in the LCK, and then he started hitting that every time until recently. And now it feels a little bit more like old Perfect, where you're not sure what you're going to get, which is a little concerning because he's a really important part of this roster right now.
And really is a confidence player, right? And we were talking about it a lot yesterday, about the power of confidence here in League of Legends. And when there is any sort of turmoil or conflict in the team, does make that confidence very difficult to get, as BDD just watches a whole bunch of minions die. And is able to put on a fair bit of pressure here towards Showmaker. Has gone for the Death by a Touch once again.
It's hard
Showmaker
for
with the Comet.
Rise to apply it a lot early, especially with Showmaker positioning defensively against it. And he is obviously not going to have the safety that the Phase Rush provides. But you can see BDD is trying to get some value out of it here, as he will.
Yeah, just walking Showmaker down. Showmaker is Orianna, has drank both of his potions though.
BDD also was the guy who we had in our pre-show. He had the quote of like, from his stream, like, why are they doing this? Why'd they take my phase rush away? I'm not enjoying this, as we have an all-in down here.
Yeah, Smash also isn't enjoying this, as he just stands in the beat drop, flashes out of the way of effort as now Korea comes on over, Cuz walking over a ward. Lucid somewhat in the vicinity, but Smash had to use both of his summoners. Korea used his heal. KT just kind of walked him down.
Yeah, that looked a little bit bizarre, the movement there from Smash. Very confidently just kind of standing in the brunt of that damage. Almost for a moment made me second guess if Lucid was more nearby than we thought, but he was not in the vicinity, and so we'll just be both summoners down for Smash off of just an aggressive fish from effort. You know, it was non-committal, and he's like, all right, well, got him, and let's hold the aggression. So that will be a nice little trade down there. Because they're both going to back, it's not going to be a lead that's translated in CS or gold just yet, but the summoner being down means that a follow-up could be very problematic here for Smash.
Ooh, BDD just ghosting after Showmaker here. Does get the flash. He's like, you know what? I can get a flash here. And he does. Korea comes on over though. There's the Meep Slap. As Wind becomes lightning will mean that BDD has to flash as well. So both of his summoners are now on cooldown, and we were talking about this together. The fact that Showmaker just has the support of Lucid and Korea like all the time in the early game, and that seems to be continuing here on this patch.
Yeah, really good supportive Bard play, and he's actually coming back down at a potential flank angle in the bottom lane. Doesn't like he's gonna do anything with it, but sometimes Bard can really trip up the Ashe Seraphine if he comes in at a funky angle.
Yep. Especially if he's delivering a jungler, which can be very helpful. Right now, though, Korea is just taking damage here from aiming. Captive Audience going to slow him down momentarily, but it looks like the Jhin Bard isn't necessarily slaughtering here in this lane right now.
No, certainly not.
CS is even, though.
The Airy proc there as well. It's just constant annoyance of this bottom 2v2. They're going to hold this wave here, so it's hard for Smash to actually farm it out. He's going to have to use his Flourish to do what he can here. But like you said, it hasn't translated to a massive lead or anything like that just yet. And with no jungle attention, it's actually fine. Speaking of jungle attention, Showmaker is down his flash, but his positioning is just too safe.
Ooh, Lucid gonna face check Cuz here, just immediately dives on top of him. And as the attack dissonance, halves the health bar of Cuz. It's Korea once again. I mean, I love it, like Bard just, a Bard that roams all the time really does seem to cause a ruckus, but the fact that you're rewarded for it as well, just being able to go and pick up all your chimes, just feels like the path of chimes is calling Korea at the right times here today.
Yeah, effort has kind of just been glued to trying to pressure this lane. Actually has a significant experience advantage over Korea as a result. Korea's a full level down right now, and will be possibly for a moment 2 levels down.
Yeah, we'll see whether that means that Smash is ahead in experience. He might be able to benefit from that one, but Korea certainly does need to get a few extra levels in his buttons. As effort not quite finding the buttons there. And Showmaker and BDD just waiting for some minion waves. Right now, BDD with about a 5 CS advantage. And Lucid rotating over yet again.
Pretty aggressive start here for KT in these lanes, you know, especially the mid and bottom lane. Top lane, you know, small advantage game, but nothing really to write home about. But it hasn't translated, I think, to the leads they were hoping for. And, you know, BDD losing his flash, for example, really weakened his position he had moments ago. It's perfect. Does have his passive stacked.
Yeah, ulti does avoid the Q from Xiu. That does mean that Grim Deliverance is now on cooldown. So Xiu looking a bit worse for wear health-wise, but cooldown's feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, very, again, near huge wins for KT in all of these lanes, but just not quite able to get the actual breakpoints to, you know, get kills or build that CS advantage. But you can't fault them for trying. Like, they have really been applying the pressure. It's just been great defensive play from D+, and they've responded incredibly well. The roams from Career, also the attention from Lucid in the mid lane. And this bottom lane went very badly, right? Smash got rooted, but he's recovered. His flash is almost back up, and they actually didn't get the advantage they were hoping for out of it. So D+ are really in quite a strong position here, basically dead even.
Yeah, not doing too bad. I am a little bit worried if DK can't get themselves to a position in this mid-game where they can start rolling a snowball down, then they could have a little bit of a damage issue in the mid-game, or the late mid-game, with Showmaker being Orianna, who just misses his shockwave. The curtains are being called, though, as now BDD is just dead. So, despite the shockwave, still going to be able to grab this one, as the arrow is going to connect from downtown. There's the Cataclysm, and Lucid throws down the Crescent Guard, and he will just survive somehow.
That's
Effort also
insane.
has to flash.
Both of them have to flash. BDD dies. D+. Pull ahead somehow, some way.
How did no one die on
Absolutely.
DK? That's just
crazy.
ridiculous.
I mean, the thing about this, the beginning of this too, is BDD is like, I don't have phase rush. I'm not ghosting, but I will dodge your shockwave. Like, the movement out of BDD at the initial part of this is actually crazy. As he's able to predict what's going to happen here. He's like, oh, I see. You're going to try to go for the shockwave. Moves forward. Dodges the flourish. Okay, I don't know if BDD could have done this any better. It does not have flash. It can't flash when it becomes lightning. And then they go on to Lucid here when the arrow comes through. Effort, the fact that he walked away meant he missed like one auto. And that might have actually been the difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
The shield, probably not, though, to be honest.
Yeah, Cuz needed to like just hit him one more time or something like that, but I think he thought that he was just dead to rights. And as it turned out, not to be the case. So Lucid going to be able to keep himself alive. He is extremely far behind when it comes to farm. Cuz really being able to hoover up all of these camps. Smash possibly in an awkward spot here. Does eat a volley as Effort is trying to also add to that damage. Deadly Flourish comes in as Cuz making his way over once again. Smash just observes Effort dropping the beat. Isn't really doing too much about it. But the answering Lucid is going to be in the area. Smash still waiting for his ulti. Obviously can affect things even with his health bar this low.
Aiming.
Yeah, I mean, Effort is very low, but aiming isn't. And he's able to offer a lot of damage back.
Yeah, I think you don't want to stick around into that Ashe. The longer those fights go, the better it's going to be for her. Difficult to get away, no flash on the Bard. So they do respect it, and it's going to be just a reset everywhere. Lucid does have the Dragon, perhaps, on his menu here, in his sights, but actually not going to commit. Is they're going to find Cuz.
Yeah, Career coming over. The arrow is going to connect onto the Xin Zhao, but this time, Cuz is just going to get the heck out of there.
Aiming has done such a great job, Atlas, at like impacting these skirmishes with his arrow.
Oh, getting into the brush there. I think they know that there is vision as the shockwave once again is avoided. Three-Talon Strike, though, going to connect there onto Cuz, who's taking a lot of damage. And despite the missed shockwave again, they're able to get themselves a kill. The Tempered Fate comes down. Lucid, what is with this guy walking away with no health?
Crazy, twice in a row. And BDD this time flashes the shockwave, but doesn't get hit by it, but this doesn't have the damage. Sitting on a catalyst in inventory. He's just tickling them at this point. And once again, Lucid escapes with his life. 2 kills to Showmaker in this early game now. And there was no arrow to bail them out or try to set anything up further since it was used in the river scrap moments before. And a lot of this game really has been, to me, Career's impact outside of lane. Even though this is not initially set up by him, it's him being here that actually offers the extra damage. They get the kill, and it's really difficult for the follow-up to come through. The Tempered Fate denies BDD that extra damage. Career is having a great game.
He is. And I swear, like, these Xin Zhao buffs, we saw yesterday, Kanavi benefited from them quite a lot, escaping with slivers of health. I think that's twice that Lucid's been saved by patch notes.
Yes.
That is kind of absurd.
I actually hadn't even, like, considered that aspect of it.
If this was last week, he'd be 0-2. As it turns out, 0-0-2 feels a whole lot better. DK moving towards 1,000 gold in the lead. And with the Orianna, this accelerated, man, it feels so much better in this game. Oriannas that are not able to get off the ground just feel like they don't do very much at all. As Magical Journey is going to come on through here. Great Encore is going to land as Aiming trying to throw this damage down. Hits another point-blank arrow this time as Lucid. Yeah, Crescent Guard, that'll do it. Career may not survive, though, as he doesn't have damage mitigation. Has to flash to get out of the way of Cuz. Tempered Fate to stop any follow-up, and he will keep himself alive.
Cuz's flash is like just a few seconds away. If he has that there, I think he is able to kill Career, but Career had the flash advantage, is able to escape barely, like Lucid, who escapes a third time barely.
Is it just that KT are not allowed to get kills today?
I guess that's not killing team. What is the K word that they are in this case instead? I wonder.
Not entirely sure. Kyle? Maybe they're Kyle's team.
Kyle's team.
Good old Kyle.
I wasn't aware there was a Kyle in the KT in the ownership program.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. You thought it was Korea Telecom. No. Kyle's team. That's what it means.
Well, Kyle's not enjoying what he is seeing right now. Smash, Impressive.
Well, yeah, aiming is just going to kill him by the looks of things. Magical Journey is going to deliver Cuz over towards Career as finally KT are on the board. Maybe it's Killing Team after all. Maybe Kyle was just a guy. I'm not sure. Career is going to die as well, though, so that means Killing Team going to rack up 2 for aiming. And that feels very good. Okay, well, suddenly the game is dead even. And this was, I think, a miscalculation by D+, as aiming has been in these opportunities so many times in this bottom lane, but just wasn't able to actually have the real kill pressure. But this time it's just kind of served up to him by Smash on a silver platter. I guess Smash just assumed he finished the recall, or yeah. I don't know what else he was thinking there. And unfortunately, the Magical Journey allows Cuz to chase Career down. It doesn't have flash from the previous play. Cuz's flash had just come back up, so Career is up a creek without a flash. Indeed, in the river there. Or a paddle. No paddle either, yeah. Yeah. We do have some stats for you guys. The first time, Lucid got away with 5 HP, and then the second time, it was 76 HP. So, just wow, he was like 14 times more not dead the second time. He was very less dead the second time around, but it was still pretty close, to be honest. And still hasn't died. It's just the bottom lane that has fallen down so far. Good news for aiming, though, as he is sitting at 2-0-0 with a 1.2k gold advantage. And DK, their lead is very quickly dissipating. Yeah, Showmaker is still huge. And it's going to take a while for BDD to hit that actualizer, but their comp is a little bit more well-rounded than D+'s in terms of its damage, because this Ashe is also accelerated. So I favor KT's position overall right now. A lot of the wind is out of D+'s sails for the moment. If the Ashe wasn't the one who picked up these kills, like even if it went over to like if Seraphine or Jarvan here, I'd feel way better for D+, but the fact that aiming was able to get both of those means that he is sitting on a ton of damage and is a real damage threat right now. Not into the Scion that they put to be a brick wall to deny him plates down here, but into anyone else, and eventually the Scion. It just takes a little while. Yeah. It does have a lot of daggers. It's just daggers sort of everywhere. Ashe does like to shoot fast. She does. It's going to be a armor penetration third, I imagine. Unless he does want to go very quickly to an Infinity Edge. But I would recommend being able to cut down some tanks being a pretty good thing to do here for aiming in this game. Yeah. So eyes are going to be drawn to Showmaker to try and bail them out here of this sticky situation. DK have been able to continue building advantages with that early game as, oh man, nice cap jack there from Career as the Encore is going to be avoided. Smash realizes he can walk out of Effort's abilities, and that is going to keep him alive. All right, well, that was a really big moment for Career there. And obviously won't have Mikhail's for a potential team fight, but I think he's very happy that there's no arrow on the other side. It's perfect. Back in the lane he wants to be in, as we do have this Herald potentially brewing into a team fight, but there's no ults for KT to actually challenge. I don't think they can actually get in here, and D+ should be able to secure this. I mean, they have all the tools to deny KT's entry. They have the Orianna Prio as well. KT, I think you should just let this one go. Well, they are backing away. You can see BDD was considering a back angle himself. Instead, decides that he is just going to head back towards the top side. Showmaker is going to find him there. And so D+, like you say, we'll just... Okay, never mind. I thought they were going to go back to the Herald. They decide instead, they're just going to farm. Okay. That's, I think, kind of not ideal. It was definitely a very strong decision that was made. Like, it was a very clear decision, but I think given the lack of ultimates for KT and how their comp wants to explode through the mid game and the setup that they had, I think they definitely could have continued there, but they didn't want to risk it. But I think for KT, you're kind of breathing a sigh of relief that the Herald doesn't go over. You actually get some extra time to get your ults back online, and maybe you'll get a team fight you're looking for. And, you know, the next pass on the Herald, maybe you could even start it up yourself. And because it's heading over there, there's a lot of vision to clear. But eventually, once aiming hits this mid lane, starts clearing that wave, they absolutely can have a go at it. Yeah. Lucid going to go back and buy some stuff and then head back towards the Herald perhaps. But the Cataclysm comes down from Cuz here. Deadly Flourish comes in. Tempered Fate avoids the arrow very nicely. His Career is going to flash away. Showmaker there with the Command Protect, and now Cuz may find himself overextended. He has to flash to get himself out, but he will at least escape. We're back once to Kyle again, team. Yeah, we're also back to like 2 ultimates being on cooldown, so KT may not be able to fight the Rift Herald anymore, but it's also just not going to be Rift Herald time for DK either. It was an incredibly high value Tempered Fate there from Career. He was able to deny the arrow, buy space there. The timing of Effort's poke as well didn't hit. So
Nidus is able to escape. Now, he doesn't have Flash, but Dragon is on the menu here for KT, and with Ocean Chemtech, you know you're getting high value, Soul.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Double Dragon does feel very strong here, as in trade, they're going to try to catch BDD.
Yeah, Shockwave going to hit this time around onto BDD, and he is very likely to be dead, but instead just ghosts away.
Doesn't need phase rush.
Yeah. Didn't even need Storm Raider's Surge Wolf.
No. Nobody needs that.
No, apparently not.
No one's ever going to play that. Sad to say it, but it looks unlikely at this point. You know, maybe like Talon will come into the meta or something.
Hey, there you go.
We'll have some fun. But that ends up being a pretty big win for KT. Now, Mountain Soul, though, for a Scion.
Oh, God. Quadra Mountain Soul?
Yeah. KT need to make sure they keep getting these dragons.
I mean, if they do, though, like, what is Smash ever going to be able to do to them?
Yeah,
He's built another serrated Dirk. Is this lethality gen? Oh, no.
I actually don't even, I can't even really, usually I'm not the guy to criticize items too much. That's kind of Ox's thing, but I'm not a big fan of this one into this composition, even though there is a Seraphine on the other side, and you feel like, oh, we just get a little bit of extra burst. Killing the support is easy if we can punish him, but it's been Career who's been found in the jungle more often than not. I think KT kind of downloaded Career. They kept punishing him in the jungle repeatedly this game because they're like, okay, he's just never with Smash. He's always trying to make a play, so there's only a few places he can be, and Cuz has been kind of hunting him down this game. Even though he hasn't really died that often, he keeps losing his Flash and has just not been able to make the same impact he did in the early game. This game is still very close, D+, 1,000 gold ahead. The next team fight is really going to be the game changer, and we still have not taken this Rift Herald.
Yeah, it's just they're kind of just milling about in the area. Lucid just, I guess DK really want a team fight, and this is where they have the control. Flag and Drag going to get denied here, as Cuz going to have to walk it off. Deadly Flourish is going to lock him down. Shockwave pulls him back, and that is a kill onto the jungler. DK, do the Herald, for goodness sake.
I think they will. I think they will. There is no enemy jungler. And some Merc Treads, I think that will get some high value. Are now finally picked up here for Cuz. Cannot buffer the stasis of the Tempered Fate. So without Flash, placement of that Tempered Fate meant that I think Cuz is dead every single time. That was a really nice play there from Career, who again, you know, was caught out in the jungle a few times, but is having a fantastic Bard game.
Yeah.
And Aiming and Crew are just going to get a plate here in exchange for the Herald. And in fact, BDD, not knowing where Lucid is right now, decides to back away and give this turret over to Showmaker.
Showmaker is so far ahead right now. He's moving towards a 40 CS lead on this Orianna, starting off 2-0, now moving to 3-0 as he's taken every single kill on the map so far. And yeah, this Orianna is going to be a very, very big problem. Already has Dash Cannon Seraphs complete, and we'll see what that needlessly large rod is going to turn into. If he just goes Rabadon's Void Staff now, my gosh, he's going to be hard to kill, right? Because he's got that shield, got the health from the Dash Cannon, and then just builds 1 trillion damage after that.
He has some flexibility too. Like, he could build into Azonias if he wants to. You know, there's a lot of different options he has right now based on the team fight they're looking to take. If he wants just the damage, he can get it. And he has the raw stats of the rod right now.
Yeah, Shadow Flame also an option.
Yeah. This timing here of this Tempered Fate is huge because it denies Cuz's exit and they get the kill and it leads to Herald. By the way, like, he gets the eye maybe 10 seconds before Baron spawns, barely able to get that Herald at all. It was almost just eaten, as Cuz is not where he wants to be.
Well, does get himself out at least, but like you say, it's getting a little bit tricky.
I just think this Orianna, the problem with Orianna always is she's very binary in her impact. If Showmaker doesn't hit the, you know, the Sonic, or rather the Shockwave, and then she gets picked, and Aiming can carry these team fights later on, I do think that I want to put my money on D+ being in a fantastic position in this game, but there is certainly a lot of things that could go wrong with this comp because it doesn't have consistent damage. So Showmaker really needs to play with this lead well, because we haven't really seen him make that impact in team fights. He's gotten a few flashes, gotten a few dodges out of BDD, but when it comes to the real 5v5s, he needs to make that Shockwave high value to utilize this gold advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, he has to do all of the damage because Smash has decided to go Serpent's Fang there. That's why you buy the Dash Cannon, ladies and gentlemen. Showmaker just uses it to avoid the arrow. Not going to be dying today. Smash is doing no damage.
Yeah,
really.
I didn't even notice that till you point out he was Serpent's Fang.
He's like, I'm a utility champion. Oh, dear.
It'll be great when they get Mountain Soul.
I mean, if KT gets even a Mountain Drake, I feel like Smash is going to stop doing damage.
But if they get the Soul, it'll be great to cut those shields down.
Yeah, true. So that he can get to the point where he can do no damage. That'd be perfect.
Also, I mean, Jin known to apply Serpent's Fang very easily.
I mean, you can do it quite effectively with you know, your ulti, Deadly Flourish, stuff like that from long range. It's fine. I think it's okay, but I just kind of, like, when you're going Ghost Blade, which is, like, my least favorite first item on Jin, and then you're just going with a Serpent's Fang, you're like, wow, I'm just accepting that nothing good is going to happen for me this game.
Yeah, but that's okay, because Showmaker's 3,000 gold ahead, and surely he will play it with it well. He's got a Dark Seal, and if that turns into a book...
He did go with the Shadow Flame as well and has finished it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge spike that they're on right now. DK do need to take this Drake, though. They are still sitting on the Herald as well, so they can go with Battle Shelly.
Perfect is just going to get a whole turret here if they delay this, so I think they really need to do this quickly, and they probably should just respond to the Zahan already, because I don't think KT can contest. They're not in position to do so.
Yeah, they do have the luxury of giving it up as well. Aiming already has a Last Whisper, so he is building towards third item Armor Pen.
So they just let Perfect have the whole turret, and I think KT are, like you said, because they have the luxury of giving this up, very happy with this exchange. There was not a one team fight there in any reality because of BDD's deficit right now in this game. Does have his Rod complete, he's about to hit level 16, and that's going to be huge for him, but he's so far away from an Actualizer, and that is why I think KT are like, let's just play the map. Let's not play the team fight. And unfortunately for D+, they really wanted KT to come to that fight, but instead KT just give it up and get a turret for the Zahin. That's picking up a pretty significant advantage.
Yep. Oh god, is Smash going Rapid Fire Cannon next? I need to stop looking at Jin. It's just making me very sad.
Just look at the gold difference over time. That's a better one. I like that one.
I don't even know whether it's good or bad. I just dislike it. For me, it does feel personal.
I don't really, in this game, I don't care about his items that much because I feel like you said, he knows, and we all know, that he's not going to really be doing the damage.
He is not the main character.
I'm scared about Perfect getting bigger, though, because if they can kill Orianna first, there's only one damaging champion on the side of D+. Like, Lucid is probably closer than Smash right now in terms of being able to actually kill the KT champions.
I want to see him build the Dusk and Dawn thing as well, like Kanavi did. That was a whole lot of fun. His career is going to have to flash, magically journey through the Cataclysm. As BDD and Colors, they're going to join them. There's a Tempered Fate, but it's not down in time to save the Bard. And they will be able to get their prize.
I would love to see Showmaker's damage to champions this game because he has a huge lead, but he's not hurting the bad guys.
No.
His support is caught in the jungle again, tries to outplay it, but dies, and now they lose mid-turret, and this gold lead is fading here for D+ very rapidly.
Yeah, once again, down to about 1,000.
And BD will eventually get a third item, and eventually will be way more consistent damage output than the Orianna, even if the Orianna is ahead, because he's Rise.
Well, Aiming's just going to walk down and try and kill this Scion. Xiu does have a few items complete, but he is still very, very dead.
LDR going to work here.
Yeah, he'd actually completed it, wow.
He's a real threat. D+ are kind of just falling apart at the seams here, and KT are just making simple map calls, and D+ are failing to respond.
Yeah,
D+ comes down and just is way too late.
It's almost like they're just playing terrified when they probably shouldn't have been, right? Like, Showmaker was so incredibly big towards the end of that mid-game. They should have just been fighting around him, right? Taking the Rift Herald, understanding that they're the big dogs.
Yeah, that's why I want to see his damage number, because it's probably comically low, because he's been doing a lot of hitting turrets and minions with his lead. And I think part of this is not Showmaker's fault. It's KT opting out of every 5v5 fight and playing the map instead, but D+'s lack of a response to that is the bigger issue. Is Showmaker maybe caught as well? Nope, never mind.
Gonna go wide this time around, but I do like that Aiming is just kind of throwing them out. That's perfect, just clears out the wave. He is going to look to go back, but he now has an 850 gold advantage over Xiu, who is even on farm, but that assist and the entire turret.
Okay, just damage dealt. Showmaker, 10,000. Xiu, 21,000.
Xiu has done way more damage than I expected, but I guess Zahin does have just a fair bit of sustain.
Aiming is now, in terms of gold, has more money than Showmaker has, and is a, I think, bigger, more consistent problem, and a more difficult problem to solve with this composition for D+. I think Lucid has to solve it somehow. He has to get on top of this Ashe. He has to punish, but there's a Seraphine here. Aiming did take Ghost in this game. He's got extra mobility. As Lucid is going to get collapsed on.
Yeah, just gets cataclysmed. Let's see when this ulti is going to come down. As the Tempered Fate comes on through, Lucid now realizing that he's just going to have to try and fight. And unfortunately, that is not going to work out for him. Now a potential flank angle from Perfect as well. The Smash was just trying to deal with some minion waves.
I mean, KT are just like, the flowchart is Showmaker here? If no, fight and kill someone. If yes, then run away and do something else. And they just keep finding these angles in the jungle, and Showmaker wasn't there again. He's pushing the mid wave. They're going to try to challenge this Baron.
Yep, and Korea, he's going to try and escape, but it's not going to quite work. Finally, a Shockwave. Shockwave is going to come on through, as Xiu just has to drive his way out of there. I mean, Showmaker, if left to his own devices, does do so much damage. But now, I mean, they've got a Seraphine. Like, Effort can keep them relatively healthy as the curtains are going to get called. Let's see whether DK can stop them here, as there is only one smite in the pit. Grim Deliverance does come on down. Perfect is very low, but he's going to survive. And I don't know whether the same can be said for this Scion, who is just going to get cut down where he stands. Man, what a colossal collapse from D+ Kia.
What a, I mean, frankly, like, what a bizarre game. They had all the win cons, but I think it's partially D+'s failure to respond in sides, but I think KT have really just said, okay, we know the clear problem. It's this Orianna. Let's just try to make fights happen elsewhere. They know she's bottom here, and then D+ are still trying to challenge here into this Fed Ashe. And their Jhin, look at the Jhin damage. Oh wait, was there any? I didn't see any. Unfortunately, Effort's had a bad time timing his abilities post the Bard ultimate this game, but it doesn't matter. And then here, I mean, he's in no man's land trying to check vision, and he just dies. And this is also a huge problem because they need him to buy some more space for Showmaker to get in position to have a big ult in this fight. And look, Showmaker, if he ults all of them, they can win the fight, but he just can't get in. He's like looking for the angle, he's fishing. Maybe I can find this one. Nope, there's that Ashe is too big of a problem. And then Zion is just able to stack up his passive in this fight, gets the ult off. So much healing goes down. A Perfect survives, Xiu dies. This Ashe is doing real damage, and this Orianna is just not able to get access.
Nope, and Smash does no damage at all, really. He's about to finish an Infinity Edge, so he'll technically have 2 items that will contribute to damage. And obviously, the other 2 do contribute a little bit, but it's just not really the same as some of the other builds that we have been seeing for the Jhin. And Xiu just doing his very best to catch this wave underneath the turret, but with now a Baron buff, should be that Perfect and BDD are very capable of cutting through the turret and through the Scion.
Actualizer's done.
Yeah, and Xiu is going to have to flash, and that may not even be enough to stop them here, as Perfect still wanting to push forward, cuz possibly in trouble, but the Deadly Flourish is not going to connect. And D+ well and truly on the ropes, but I feel like they walked over to the ropes and just started resting on them. Yeah. You know, that's what this game kind of feels like to me. I don't know whether it's a misread, but that's kind of how it feels. And Showmaker now just watching this inhibitor turret go down. It's indecisiveness here for D+ is what it's kind of feeling like to me.
I mean, KT are in such a phenomenal position now. It's really hard for Showmaker to find a Shockwave target. They're so split here, so that he can't get high value. And again, he's kind of a binary champion here on this Orianna, and they're, like you said in the draft, they don't get ahead, they don't have damage. They were ahead, but they're not anymore, as the Realm Warp's gonna come through here to send the minions over to siege this second inhibitor turret.
That'll do it, as the arrow is going to sail past and connect onto the Jhin. Now Lucid going to be put into the Cataclysm. Cuz makes his way out of it. Decent 3-man encore there as well as the beat drops and 2 get snared. Flash in from Perfect. He collects Smash. And then the flash forward for BDD to finish him off. Shockwave is decent. There's the knockup from the Unstoppable Onslaught there as well. But she is also going to be cut down, and they cannot get to aiming. He just shoots them, and there is 0 response. KT will be able to take down these Nexus turrets, and D+ Kia, man, the drawing board needs a visit, and it needs it very quickly, because after a great early game, nothing really happened, and KT, they will just win the game.
The first few Shockwaves that whiffed, that he missed in the early game, he was just like, I guess I'm not pressing R this game. I can't hit those.
I mean, he did manage to hit one underneath the turret onto BDD towards the top side of the map, but this is a weird damage graph as well, because it's just kind of Xiu hitting Perfect all game and doing the most damage out of anyone else. But ultimately, KT just made better choices at the end of the game, and the main thing was is that they were willing to make choices.
바텀에 대포 보내놓게.
오케이 좋아 좋아. 타워 치고 이거 3으로 봐야 돼 근데 결국 우리.
야 우리 하나 좀.
걸라면
앞에부터 봐야 돼. 앞에부터 봐야 돼. 봐야 돼.
뭉치지 마 뭉치지 마 일단 뭉치지 마.
앞을 뺄게.
나 볼게.
천천히 빨리. 아 상호야 그. 아 천천히 볼게. 천천히 볼게.
봐도 볼만해. 진 높을.
천천히 나 딜가 안 나 이번에. 나 버려.
볼만해.
나이스.
이거 좀비 죽여야 돼.
아 그냥 카운트 됐어.
그 바드 노공이다.
다 살아있어 아직 3명. 아 괜찮아 있어.
들어올 때 봐.
들어올 때만 들어올 때.
쟤네 7초 하라마.
죽이자. 야 아래쪽 봐봐 아래쪽. 봐도 노플이야 봐도.
짜고 박았다.
하나 잡았어.